external borders run here. These are not abstract places, they are communities under pressure. Since the Russian aggression of Ukraine, investment, security and communities hang in the balance. When trade stopped, markets vanished overnight, living costs surged faster than incomes, and the economic shock reached far. These regions are also Europe's testing ground for resilience and renewal. These regions are not the EU's periphery, they are its front line and its responsibility. Where Europe is tested, the European Union invests for resilience, security and growth.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen here and those who are following us online. It's really crowded right here. Communication on the European Union's eastern regions bordering Russia, Belarus and Ukraine was adopted last week on the 18th of February. It foresaw to set up an annual high-level dialogue to discuss EU policies and their contribution to the development and security of the eastern border regions. We are holding the very first one today. My name is Ursula. I am a radio journalist from one of the member states we are going to talk about today, Lithuania. I will be leading you through the conference. Our linguistic regime is English. We just saw a swift video presenting our topic and context of the conference, but there is so much more to say. And for that, first I invite on the stage the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen.
Indeed, what a view, fantastic. Welcome to all of you. Prime Minister Bolojan, dear Ilie, Prime Minister Michal, dear Kristen, Prime Minister Ruginienne, dear Inga, and Prime Minister Silinia, dear Evika, President Calvino, dear Nadia, here you are, wonderful to see you here, and of course, Executive Vice President Fito, dear Raffaele. Thank you very much for convening all of us here. This is a very special moment. Earlier this week, I was with some of you in Kyiv to mark the terrible anniversary of 4 years of war. 4 years ago, Putin ordered his tanks into Ukraine. And with Russia's illegal invasion, the world changed overnight. It was a wake-up call for all of Europe. But the biggest impact has been felt along our eastern borders. And we owe a huge debt of gratitude to this region, because border communities on our eastern flank are helping to keep Europe safe. We know that many have paid a heavy price. On top of the psychological impact the proximity to war has brought, Russia's invasion has cut communities in half. Economies, jobs and infrastructure have been impacted. Transport and tourism have been disrupted. And people face daily risks, hybrid threats, weaponized migration, drone incursions, you name it. Since the start of the war, we have been by the side of the eastern border communities. But today, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, we go a step further with our plan to strengthen our border region. It is vital that we show up for these communities. So before I go into the details, I want to thank you, Executive Vice President Raffaele Fito, for your skillful and tireless work on the eastern border regions. Thanks to you, we have today this start. Let me focus on 3 key areas that we want to discuss here today. The first is doubling down on security and defense. The second is, if possible, unlocking massive new investments to drive growth. And finally, of course, realizing the potential of local communities and the assets these communities have. So let me start with the first point, doubling down on security and defense. We all know communities and economies need security and they need stability to thrive. And this is, of course, especially important along our eastern borders. Europe has already taken historic steps towards building a defense union. So you all know we will mobilize up to 800 billion euros by 2030 for defense efforts. We have the Defense Readiness Roadmap to 2030. It sets very clear objectives and measurable timelines. But my message today is that Europe also has a laser-like focus on eastern border security. Because your security is vital for the whole of Europe. Therefore, almost two-thirds of the 150 billion euros available through SAFE, this is our joint procurement program that you all very well know, two-thirds are provisionally allocated to the 8 border countries that are represented here today. And then we have pan-European flagships, like the Eastern Flank Watch and the Drone Defence Initiative. They will help secure specifically the eastern border regions. And we have our new drone action plan that will tackle the security region so that, if necessary, troops and equipment can be deployed much more rapidly. And we will triple the funding at the border to secure the frontiers. This is the part we can do on our side. I know that you are doing a lot. The eastern border countries are playing their part without any question. Border. And thanks to funding from the European Investment Bank, this base will host almost 5,000 military and civilian personnel. And of course, it will stimulate the local communities there at the border. And, crucially, it will reinforce the front line with Belarus. And with initiatives like these, we can turn the challenges that we face every day in the eastern border regions into opportunities. We can protect and we can stabilize our border regions, and this then, in turn, will lay foundation for lasting prosperity. And this brings me to my second point. A more secure environment can help us attract new investment. We need investment in these regions. And the border regions have significant assets. They have their forests. They have a strong agricultural sector. They have the availability of critical raw materials, just to name a few of these assets. And we all know by experience that these regions have a resilient population and a skilled workforce. So, in a situation where we have Russia's ongoing war, it means that the investors, the potential investors, need reassurance. And our reassurance is the following. Our solution is EastInvest. a €20 billion financing mechanism specifically designed for the border regions. It brings together some of the biggest public and private funding sources, and this will create new jobs, it will create new economic opportunities, and it will create prosperity. We already see some great examples. Latvia, for example, the Ivica, has developed a fiber optic valley in the southeast, where top quality products for medicine and science are exported around the world. Romania will produce critical medicines at the research center in Iași, and this high-tech plant will make innovative vaccines and antibiotics. Or take Estonia, Kristen, the cutting-edge magnet factory in the border town of Narva. It's phenomenal what they are producing. These projects show that we can build a new momentum, and these projects will unleash the full potential of our border communities. If I look at the leading tech sector development in Narva, this is amazing to see the magnets that have been produced, are being produced there. It's one of the most crucial sites because we know how difficult it is to access magnets, permanent magnets. If they are supplied from everywhere from the world, we are vulnerable. Here, it's homegrown potential that is improving. Strong commitment are the final key ingredients of our package. With the right support, Europe can help safeguard their future. And this is my third point, how we can realize the potential of local assets and communities. We have powerful financial instruments to invest in these regions, from cohesion to common agricultural policy, and our new plan will make sure that every cent will be spent where it matters. We have already made cohesion funds much more flexible, and we can see the difference now with the flexibility in the cohesion funds. There is, for example, a new cross-border healthcare service operated by Poland and Lithuania and supported by Europe. And this service makes screening much more accessible for those that cannot travel. We are also investing in digital upskilling so that local traders can use cohesion funding to upgrade their tools. So with today's plan, we can build a more prosperous future and more resilience for the eastern border regions, and they can be of an inspiration for the rest of Europe. Ladies and gentlemen, all of our border areas are unique. But if we come together and channel our efforts, we can make a change and we can strengthen these communities. And that is what today's plan is all about. It's about working together to unleash the full potential of our eastern border regions. So I thank you very much for being here today with us, and I can only say, long live Europe. Thanks a lot.
And we thank you for your speech, Madam President von der Leyen. And now I invite for the opening speech as well, Mr. Rafael Fito, Executive Vice President for Cohesion and Reforms.
Thank you, President von der Leyen, Prime Ministers, Ministers, distinguished guests. It is a great pleasure to have you here today. Your presence shows the importance and the political relevance of what we are doing. Let me first thank President von der Leyen for opening this event and for placing the communication on the EU's regions bordering Russia, Belarus and Ukraine in the bigger picture of the work that this Commission is doing for the future of Europe, for security, for development, for prosperity. This communication addresses the specific challenges faced by people and communities living at the eastern borders. This communication is the result of teamwork. Together, is the key word that describes our work. Meeting, listening, visiting. On this foundation, this communication is built. It was born from dialogue with these territories, the stories of people living their difficulties, the fear of being forced to leave their country, the drama of closing their businesses. Their voice is the first and the most important source for those of us who have the responsibility to find solutions. And we have heard their voice from the ground. I have personally visited the affected member states, not only their capitals, but also the border areas. I have been to Lappeenranta in Finland and Białowieża in Poland, where together with the Polish presidency of the Council, we organized a high-level conference bringing ministers and local representatives to the same table. I have been to Grебieņa in Latvia, together with Commissioner Dombrovskis, who I thank for being here today, to Koidula in Estonia, to Patvarionis in Lithuania. And I am very pleased that today we are joined by Prime Minister of Estonia, Mikel, Prime Minister of Lithuania, Ruginiene, Prime Minister of Latvia, Sirina, and Prime Minister of Romania, Bolojan. Your presence gives strength and political weight to this initiative. Reaching these places is not easy, but it means truly understanding the reality faced by the communities living there. During each mission, I met citizens, local actors, and those directly affected by the new security and economic situation. The message we heard in all these places was clear. For these regions, more than anywhere else in Europe, there is a clear before and after 24th of February 2022. Places that were once built for normal daily life, for cross-border shopping and tourism, are now used for security, dual-use activities, logistics, drones, and emergency support. President von der Leyen already mentioned the numerous challenges faced by these communities, from economic decline to weaponizing migration and depopulation. Regions bordering Ukraine also face important economic and social challenges, including an influx of displaced persons, disruption in trade, and deteriorating housing stock, health and social services. On returning to Brussels, we moved in two directions. First action was to give immediate answers. We used the meeting to adapt cohesion policy spending to the new needs. It was indeed with the midterm review of cohesion policy that we introduced for the first time the concept of eastern border regions. These regions have been able to invest cohesion resources in defense, dual use, infrastructure and competitiveness. Because what these communities ask is simple: to remain alive, to remain populated and competitive. Cohesion policy guarantees services, infrastructure and support for development. These regions possess strong assets: industry, forestry, skills and natural resources. Our approach is based on turning resilience into opportunity through innovation, through the bioeconomy, through new value chains. Second, we are now implementing EastInvest. Was a very experience, not because of the weather, but because of the feelings I had there. Even so far from my home, I felt at home. And this is because I was in Europe, on the right side of the barbed wire. I was also very impressed by the people I met. In their eyes, I saw both fear and pride. The fear that comes from living so close to a border that has suddenly become fragile, and the pride of belonging to Europe, of defending a way of life built on freedom, democracy, solidarity and peace. The same pride, the same concern that I later saw in the eyes of many other people I met in the regions along our eastern borders. This is why today is important. Today is a starting point. We do not consider the job done. This communication and this event mark the beginning of a long-term commitment. We will continue to work with you, with the Member States, regions, local communities to strengthen these territories, to support the people who live there, and to defend together the values that define our Union. Because protecting these regions also means protecting Europe itself, its security, its cohesion, and the principles that unite us. Thank you.
Europe is us. Thank you so much, Executive Vice President Fito. And now I invite Mr. Ilie Bolojan, Prime Minister of Romania.
Doamnelor și domnilor, stimați participanți, sunt onorat să fiu astăzi alături de dumneavoastră la lansarea comunicării Comisiei Europene privind regiunile de la frontiera estică a Uniunii. Mulțumesc Comisiei Europene și doamnei președinte Ursula von der Leyen pentru acest demers și pentru faptul că venim cu propuneri concrete menite să sprijine dezvoltarea și reziliența economică a regiunilor din estul Uniunii. Zilele acestea s-au împlinit 4 ani de la declanșarea de către Rusia a războiului său împotriva Ucrainei. Ne exprimăm sprijinul și solidaritatea față de poporul ucrainean în lupta sa pentru libertate, suveranitate și pace. În numele Guvernului României și al cetățenilor noștri îmi exprim compasiunea pentru suferințele îndurate de milioane de oameni, pentru viețile pierdute, pentru familiile destrămate și pentru comunitățile afectate de această tragedie. Rezistența Ucrainei este o luptă pentru propria sa independență, dar și pentru securitatea întregii Europe. Războiul Rusiei la granița noastră, precum și acțiunile hibride cu care ne confruntăm, ne-au arătat riscurile și vulnerabilitățile existente, nu doar în domeniul securității, ci și în cel al dezvoltării economice. Instrumentele și politicile europene, de la SAFE la politica de coeziune sau la viitorul fond de competitivitate, trebuie să contribuie la transformarea frontierei estice într-un spațiu mai sigur, mai puternic și mai prosper. Dacă această frontieră este sigură, întreaga Europa este mai sigură. Reziliența frontierelor noastre înseamnă atât securitate, cât și regiuni puternice și atractive din punct de vedere economic. Fiind vecine cu noile state candidate, țările noastre pot deveni modele pentru dezvoltarea acestora. Acest obiectiv se realizează prin investiții în infrastructură, transport, energie, digitalizare, care să lege nordul de sud și să conecteze România cu Republica Moldova și Ucraina, sprijinind parcursul lor european, dar și prin crearea de noi oportunități de afaceri. Guvernul României urmează această direcție. Sprijinim regiunile de la frontiera estică, care au nevoie de investiții consistente. Un exemplu concret este proiectul Bridge, finanțat prin politica de coeziune actuală și realizat cu sprijinul Băncii Mondiale. Proiectul Bridge ajută regiunile nord-vest, nord-est și sud-est să recupereze întârzierile în infrastructură și să devină mai puternice economic. În același timp, prin dezvoltarea infrastructurii, întărirea capacității administrative și susținerea unui mediu economic capabil să sprijine investiții, fluxuri comerciale și parteneriate transfrontaliere. Astfel, România se poziționează ca un partener responsabil și implicat în efortul european de reconstrucție a Ucrainei, contribuind direct la stabilitatea și prosperitatea Uniunii Europene. Sprijinul Comisiei de astăzi vine la momentul potrivit. Instrumentul pe care îl lansăm cu participarea Băncii de Investiții și Dezvoltare este util, deoarece oferă un punct de sprijin pentru primării, consilii județene și companii, prin acces la consultanță și finanțare. Participarea Băncii de Investiții și Dezvoltare va permite utilizarea unor instrumente financiare de tip împrumuturi, combinate cu granturi destinate companiilor și cofinanțate prin programele politicii de coeziune. Acest mecanism încurajează investițiile productive, consolidează lanțurile valorice regionale și crește reziliența economică, mai ales în zonele supuse presiunilor structurale și riscurilor geopolitice. Este la fel de important faptul că putem susține și infrastructura socială, locuințe accesibile, servicii de sănătate, educație și formare. Prin aceste inițiative, flancul estic al Uniunii Europene devine un pilon de coeziune, reziliență și securitate. Vă mulțumesc!
Thank you so much, Prime Minister Bolojan. And now the floor I give to Prime Minister of the Republic of Estonia, Mr. Kristen Michal.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear Ursula, dear Raffaele, it is very good to be here today. The timing is right to talk about Europe's eastern border regions. Russia's aggression has changed Europe's security environment, and this is most felt on Europe's eastern flank. War affects security, and it has affected living and doing business in our region. And we find ourselves in a strategic role now. And we are not just a geographic frontier. Europe's security, resilience and credibility are directly shaped in our region. Member states along the eastern border carry a responsibility that goes beyond our territory. Our stability is directly linked to the security of the whole European Union. When we hold the line, we hold it for all of us. Estonia takes this responsibility very seriously. We spend more than 5% of GDP on defense. This has not been easy. For 2.5 years, our economy was in recession. Inflation peaked at close to 20%. We had to raise taxes to meet our defense commitments, and we reduced public sector costs around 10%, except for teachers, rescuers and pensioners. For example, unemployment insurance fund reduced its staff by about 1/5. These people became unemployed at the very same moment and had to register themselves at the same unemployment fund. These were not very popular decisions, but security is not built on popularity, it's built on responsibility. At the same time, we continue to invest in infrastructure and connectivity. This strengthens both economic resilience and military mobility. Having just returned from Kiev, we remain firmly committed to Ukraine's sovereignty and freedom. Defense, cross-border connectivity, military mobility, long-term support for Ukraine. These are Estonia's priority for the next EU's budget. That's why I welcome the ambition of the next EU budget. Common funding must reinforce our defense posture. Support for Ukraine must remain long-term and predictable, and the eastern regions must remain economically viable and fully connected to the rest of the Union. It should be treated as shared European priority. This is why the European Commission's communication on eastern border regions is very timely. It clearly recognizes the pressure these regions face and highlights the importance of the development for Europe as a whole. Now we need action. First, eastern border regions should be set as a priority in EU programs horizontally. Second, we need additional dedicated funding and higher EU co-financing rates. This helps. EU flagship projects like the Eastern Flank Watch need to proceed quickly to boost defense readiness in the region. Resilience on the eastern border rests on three fundamentals: credible security, economic opportunity, and connectivity with the rest of Europe. With them, people stay. Businesses invest and regions grow. Without them, uncertainty increases. Without them, uncertainty increases and people leave. To conclude, our objective must be clear. Living and investing in EU's eastern border countries must be an attractive choice. It should not be a structural disadvantage. A stronger eastern border means stronger Europe. It protects its citizens, its values and its future. And I thank the Commission and Ursula for this initiative and look forward to discussing best ways for practical implementation in the next EU budget. Thank you.
And we thank you, Prime Minister Michal. And now I invite on stage, Madam Inga Ruginienė, Prime Minister of the Republic of Lithuania.
Dear President Ursula von der Leyen, Vice Presidents, Commissioners, dear Baltic colleagues, Kristen and Evika, ladies and gentlemen, today we meet at the moment of strategic importance for our Union and for Europe. Just 2 days ago, we marked the 4th anniversary of Russia's large-scale invasion of Ukraine. This context makes our decision today even more urgent and necessary. I congratulate the Commission on the adoption of its communication on the EU's eastern regions bordering Russia, Belarus and Ukraine. This communication is timely, it is strategic and it is forward-looking. It underlines a fundamental reality. The strength of our eastern border regions is the strength of the European Union as a whole. This is a crucial first step in recognizing the challenges faced by eastern border regions at the European level. Lithuania has demonstrated many times that its geographic position does not make us weak. It makes us take the responsibility and act. We have invested substantially in our defense. We have strengthened democratic institutions. We have built one of the most advanced digital public sectors in Europe, including combating disinformation and propaganda. We have secured our energy independence and fully integrated into the European energy system. And we are not stopping here because security today must be understood much wider than only the strong army. Given our geographic proximity to aggressors and the transition from peace to war could be extremely rapid. We must ensure that the entire state, government, economy and into European energy networks are not just infrastructure developments. They strengthen our sovereignty and demonstrate European unity in action. Lithuania's military defense spending on 5.38% of GDP reflects clear political choices in response to real threats. The Commission comes at a particularly timely moment as negotiations on the next MFF are entering a decisive phase. It offers a strategic opportunity to integrate the challenges facing the eastern border regions more significantly into the next MFF and to secure appropriate, targeted measures in response. But the real financial benefits of the new MFF will only be available from 2028 and onwards. And it is essential to address emerging security challenges in the eastern border regions already now. So we need creative and sustainable financial solutions. The existing flexibilities in the EU fiscal framework may prove insufficient and risk leaving the frontline member states with limited fiscal space to respond adequately to escalating threats. We need to find a pragmatic way at EU level to enable urgent and necessary investment in security, preparedness, and resilience while safeguarding long-term fiscal sustainability. Investment in eastern regions is not only an act of solidarity, it is an investment in Europe's future. Our eastern border is not only a national border, it is a European one. And we do not stand there as a weak link. We stand there as a strong, resilient, and reliable European state. The challenges we have been facing, hybrid attacks, disinformation, cyber interference, airspace violation, and the weaponization of migration, were comforted with preparedness, innovation, and unity. Lithuania is not Europe's periphery. We are at the heart of Europe's security architecture. What happens in our border shapes the security of the entire Union. Lithuania is a nation shaped by history, one that has defended its freedom and dignity through difficult times. That experience guides how we act today. Our commitment to Europe is not theoretical. It is grounded in our own lived experience and in our understanding of what freedom truly requires. Ladies and gentlemen, this communication is a starting point. What matters now is implementation, with commitment, resources, and cooperation. As a reliable member state and a strong European democracy, Lithuania stands ready to contribute fully. Europe is strongest when it understands that those who stand at its borders are not asking for protection, they are providing it. Together, united in purpose, equal in dignity, and firm in our values, we will ensure that Europe remains secure, sovereign, and strong. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And unfortunately, we need to do more. And it has fundamentally changed the security situation in Europe. It has opened eyes of many sitting already here today to what Russia is capable of it's not stopped. Even security of the entire Union is directly linked to the strength, resilience, and stability of those that border Russia and Belarus, and as well as Ukraine. And Latvia is one of them. We are not just border countries. We are Europe's frontline and external border, where our collective security, cohesion, and unity is being tested every day. Therefore, I'm happy that today we can discuss practical steps on the basis of European Commission's substantial input. And thank you, Madam President Ursula, especially to you, to your leadership, and Executive Vice President Fito for this comprehensive strategy today. The new communication recognizes the reality that we have experienced for the last several years. It is a mix of hybrid threats, which has been mentioned already by my colleagues, instrumentalization of migrants, airspace violations by drones and fighter jets, even weather balloons, cyber attacks, as well as sabotage of critical infrastructure on land and on the sea. This pressing security environment leads to negative economic and social trends in Europe. Regions on the EU's external border are struggling with slower growth, reduced investments, and demographic decline. For Latvia, it's not something abstract, it's our daily reality. And Latvia shares, as you can see on a map, more than 450 kilometers of land border with Russia and Belarus, both of those countries. Historically, our eastern border regions were engaged in cross-border trade, transport, and tourism with our non-EU neighbors. But since Russia's invasion in Ukraine, this cooperation has been almost completely cut off. And it has left its negative mark on economies of eastern border regions, on our people. Analyses show slower GDP growth and higher inflation than the EU average. Behind the macroeconomic figures are communities under huge demographic strain. The population of Latvia's eastern border regions has declined 3 times faster than the rest of the country. But I am not here today to complain about economic slowdown, because it has been our long-standing position that cooperation with Russia and Belarus must stop. We are in Latvia. We have faced of these challenges, I believe, bravely and firmly. Since 2021, we have to strengthening security and competitiveness
country in these difficult times. I spoke about energy, and I conveyed a very strong and clear message. We stand by Ukraine, whatever it takes, as long as it takes. And as I was speaking, I was feeling how proud we can be that we are contributing to a strong Europe that consolidates its role in the world as a beacon of hope, of prosperity, of freedom, of human rights. How good it is to be on the right side of history, how good it is to be on the right side of the barbed wire, as you, Executive Vice President, you said. And after so many inspiring and strong speeches, I just want to share with you 3 complementary thoughts, explaining also the role of the European Investment Bank in all of this. First, why the European Investment Bank? Well, it is the financial arm of the European Union. We are pan-European by design, very strong balance sheet, very robust AAA rating, owned by the 27 member states, neither more nor less, with projects and presence in each and every one of the regions of our union. So it is clear that the European Investment Bank must play a key role as an engine for growth and prosperity. Last year, the EIB financed 14.5 billion euros in public and private investment in the 9 member states along the eastern border, and that is 16% more than previously, because when some see uncertainty, we see responsibility and a need to act, to be there where we are needed, to be there where we can make a difference. The investment supported by the EIB Group is actually making a difference. Just let me tell you, it represents 2.5% of the GDP of Poland, 2.9% in Latvia, 3.2% in Estonia. Large-scale investments, but also financing that permeates the economic tissue. Second point I wanted to share with you is about security and defence, an issue that you have put on the table, because 2025 was a turning point for the European Investment Bank in the area of security and defence. Not only did we enlarge the eligibility of our investments so that we could finance pure military projects, for example, the military campus that has already been mentioned in Lithuania, for example, other projects that are going on in Latvia and other countries. And we multiplied times 4 our financing in this area to reach already 5% of total finance inside the EU. I take this opportunity, it's not often that I have the opportunity to have in front of me prime ministers of these countries, to invite you to come forward to the EIB with transnational projects. Those projects that can really build European capacities, because many of the projects we are financing are of a national dimension. But it is by being united that we can really be strong. My third and final point is about the fact that investing in these regions is not only the right thing to do, but it is also the smart thing to do. Because first, supporting the energy transition of this region, for example, is essential for Europe's energy security and competitiveness. By investing in clean energy, we can reduce energy costs, we can reduce dependence. Last year, just to give you an example, we invested more than 2 billion euros in Poland's offshore wind sector, and that is enough. That will be enough to power 1/3 of Polish households by 2030. We're also modernizing Slovakia's grids, supporting renewables in Latvia, new solar parks in Romania, nuclear power in Finland. Second reason why this is smart is because we're bringing opportunity where talent is. Talent is not higher in large member states than in small member states, in northern member states, southern, east, west, new member states. Talent is equally distributed throughout our region. So by bringing opportunity where talent is, we're actually fostering the prosperity and growth of the whole of Europe. And this is, I think, the DNA of the European Commission. It is the DNA of the European Investment Bank. And thirdly, because investing in the resilience of this region is a strategic investment in Europe's future reconstruction of Ukraine. A number of you have mentioned it. Just now with President Zelensky, I was talking about the interconnector with Romania. I was talking about how we need to build this resilience also in Ukraine. We have signed a 500 million loan, for example, to improve road links between Lublin and the Ukrainian border. And this will also support military mobility, not only civil mobility, obviously. So these are the three key points I wanted to bring to the table to complement previous speeches. And let me close thanking wholeheartedly the Executive Vice President for this initiative, because I think that we're all really on the right track when we're joining forces under this EastInvest facility. Pooling our efforts, we will be able to mobilize 28 billion euros in financing for 26 and 27, so that's for now. And that multiplies our impact on the region's resilience so that everybody has the right to stay, as you all said, and the right to live and prosper in each and every one of the corners of our European Union. And these are values worth defending. This is, at the end of the day, the fight that we're leading is a fight for Europe's future. It's, at its core, a fight for our values, for peace and security, for equal opportunities, for social and territorial cohesion, for vibrant cities, for thriving communities. European unity is our strength. You all highlighted it. It is our superpower, really, because when we row in the same direction, we are truly unstoppable. And the European Investment Bank is absolutely determined to play its role in building a safer and more resilient eastern border, powering Europe's future, because this is the good fight. And from the European Investment Bank, we're all in. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Calvinio. But please don't walk away too far away from the stage, as I want to invite all of the speakers again on the stage for the family picture. Thank you so much.
And I'm scribbling that, scribbling this and I'm scribbling that.
Thank you very much. Just now, the President of the European Commission, the EVP Rafael Fito, and the Prime Ministers were highlighting the importance of effective measures to help the European Union members bordering Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine by land and sea. From reduced investments, constrained access to finance, demographic declines, to hybrid threats and weaponized migration, This combination of structural challenges and geopolitical pressures cannot be left unaddressed. Therefore, actions must be taken, and as we just heard, it is being done so. And this is why we are all here today. These are 9 countries we are talking about: Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Slovakia, Hungary, Romania, and Bulgaria. 9 countries mean 1/3 of the EU members. We have ministers from 8 of the countries here, and we will take this important opportunity to dig deeper into their experiences, to hear what are the main concerns, how they approach it, what they learn, and what their countries do seek from the EU on the matter. So let's open the panel discussion with the ministers of the 8 member states represented today on the topic From Frontline to Future, Securing and Developing Europe's Eastern Border Regions. The stage is still being prepared. We take a second to wait. We could give some applause for the people who are doing their jobs, you know. Greitai.